In this daily drop, I'm going to talk about NAB, the tariffs, and what you should be thinking about when purchasing equipment in the near future. So let's go. All right, everybody, I'm heading to the airport in a few minutes. And yes, I have my post-NAB voice. Please forgive that. With the dry desert air, talking to people for days on end, and the probably worse air inside of the convention center. This is what you get. But again, my apologies. And this will be a little bit of a ramble, but I think I'm going to touch on some points that might be relevant to you. So I just want to talk about those. And let's just talk about the positive. The show was great. It's not as big as it used to be, but there were a lot of companies there showing great evolution of products. We didn't see, in my opinion, one big announcement that is kind of sending shockwaves through the industry that's changing a product category or creating a new product category, but definitely a great evolution. Sort of like growing up and figuring out what products people need and continuing to evolve those so that they just get better and better. Definitely less in terms of AI kind of virtual production stuff. Definitely a part of it. I did a panel with Frieder, the founder of KinoFlow, and we talked about the future of virtual production. And there's some really exciting stuff going on inside of that space that will reduce the brain bar, reduce costs, allow productions to use rear or front projection, laser projection for the wall that's behind people. But then there is not just a proof of concept, but actually an existing workflow behind having subframes when you're doing virtual production. VRaptor XL from RØDE can capture at 240 frames per second. It can do with a setup with things like Mimic, which are these panels that KinoFlow makes for image-based lighting, which can also do subframe type stuff. There's ways in production now to have a rear or front projection behind people, which is effectively lighting them, but doesn't have to be the final environment that they're in. And then have the camera capture not only that data, but a subframe that's just a chroma key with talent, so that when you get into post-production, you're doing a more traditional post workflow. So you get the advantages of image-based lighting, but then the advantages of a more traditional post workflow where you can replace that background. You're not getting green fatigue because they're not being lit by a green screen. It's just automatically creating a green matte version as a subframe. We don't see it, but the information's there. Kind of mind-blowing, pretty cool. So from virtual production standpoint, you weren't seeing booths everywhere, virtual production, sort of a little bit more grown up in terms of how is this solution going to be scalable and affordable. And this, what I'm talking about, is much less expensive. It could be a third of the cost and have less of a brain bar, which will just expedite that, because some of these volumes are closing because they're not being booked enough. And there was and is huge money being put into that area. So I think that we'll see that evolve, and that is what it is. And as I said, no big splashy making waves type of stuff, but really cool tech that's happening there in terms of lighting, cameras, camera support. That's evolving overall. I did a recent episode with Motorized Precision's Evo, and that arm definitely was getting a lot of excitement at the show. But I think it's just an evolution. But let's get to tariffs, because right now, at least when I'm shooting this, and this will be published, there is absolutely a trade war happening. We have nothing, well, we have no control over it at all. And what will happen because of this and how it will evolve is anybody's guess. But it is occurring, and some of those tariffs are astronomical in terms of percentage. My hope is it will get worked out in the very near future so that, I don't know, maybe there's a middle ground, maybe they get eliminated again, maybe, I don't know. But I'm semi-hopeful, but I'm not completely hopeful. And of course, it's just a small slice of what's affecting everybody, our industry and our equipment and things like that. It's really a much bigger problem for the world, and I don't know how that all plays out. But it was definitely an undercurrent of the show. But again, depending on the company and how they viewed things, different companies had different viewpoints about it. But rest assured that when push comes to shove, the tariffs, while they'll be a roller coaster, are really a cost that's going to, in part or in whole, carry over to us. Which makes us come to the last part of this episode, which is, what do you do when you are thinking about buying equipment now? Well, what I will say is that there's all of the, rumors about what's going to be released and what is going to be out there after a show like this. That is all on the table now, right? We're not seeing some brand new camera at the moment from DJI. We're not seeing any brand new camera from said company, let's say Sony, that just, blew heads. Oh my God, here it is. That's the one I have to have, regardless of how long I have to wait. We, of course, got the Pixis 12K. Because of the tariffs, we may see a huge jump in terms of price. That's already been announced by Blackmagic. But it's going to roller coaster depending on what the percentage is in terms of the tariffs. So right now, what I would say is, because we sort of know what equipment is out there, and if you are now in a position to and pull the trigger on specific equipment that you've been looking at, and you go to a reseller like B&H, if you're based in the United States, or you purchase from there, now I think it might be a good time for you to make your purchases. We're still seeing some sales on things that are available at a discount. If that product is sitting here in the United States and you're purchasing in the United States, then this might be the time to purchase. I'm not saying go out there, rush to get something. Some of you will, but I do feel like if you are certain in terms of what types of equipment you need to get, and you've been holding off for NAB in terms of what announcements and what equipment would be now updated, released, so on and so forth, now would probably be the time to purchase your equipment. And that's just my opinion. And I've never actually had this opinion in the past, but of course, what we're dealing with right now is not something we have really dealt with to this degree within this industry in the past. So it's all new. I wouldn't want to be Amazon, B&H, distribution companies right now. And I think there's a little bit of a wait and see, hold breath, whatever it's going to be. We're going to see a lot of things happen, I think, over the next few months related to this. But again, if there's equipment you're thinking about buying, then this might be a good time to purchase it. I don't think that the equipment is going to become less expensive in the near future. If anything, as we can tell, it's probably going to be more expensive. Those are my thoughts right now. Overall, I think we have a strong industry. You just have to think about the shifts that are happening. You might not want to be trying to get work within, whether it's actually in the production or tied into the production, movies, television. I'm not saying you shouldn't pursue that, but I think we have growth areas in places like live event production and those types of things. And also, I think the creator economy is going to grow. We see it growing, but I think it's going to grow, and it's also going to grow up. So what we may have seen historically in a more traditional setup where you have multiple cameras and you have a show of some sort, I think we're going to see that now tie into the creator side of things, because a lot of people are already creating a lot of great content, a lot of garbage content as well, but their productions are going to get more sophisticated with some of the tools that we see. Production's not dead. You just have to find out where production is and then get in on that action. Which way am I going? I'm going to do this way. Don't forget to, and I'll see you on the next episode of The Daily Drop.